lemon. Well, if you buy a lemon, you can make lemonade with it. Well, one is to get a great home inspector, professional, who's going to help you be your eyes and your hands and your knees and your all kinds of meters and fancy equipment to make sure you get the best house. Really excited to have today a professional I've worked with recently on the property, did a great job, Nechelle Kennedy. Before we get there, I just want to promote real quick. This is the LA County Real Estate Investors Association podcast. We do this every Tuesdays. Hey, Ed Garcia, how you doing? 5 p.m. One of the leading attorneys of the South Bay. We do this call every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. We live stream it on Facebook and YouTube. Feel free for watching there live. Put your comments in. We'll catch you here in the live stream. Love to have you come onto the Zoom and participate in person, ask questions. It's meant to be participative. If you're on the call, put in your contact info. We want to network with you. Let's learn what you need, and feel free to share what you have to offer other people so we can do business. One of the things we do here is we educate, we also network, and we're excited to share with you somebody who I met at a networking event, who I learned from. She has a whole, if you go to the LA County event, second Thursday of the month, next Thursday, February 9th, if you go to that event, I met her at a past event there with all kinds of stuff, videos and handouts, educating about home inspection. I've used her as a customer, does a great job. My customer's happy, great report, great service. So I said, please, Nechelle, come here and share with people how they can use your service, how they can learn to protect themselves. Nechelle Kennedy, what is up?
Hola, love bugs. Thank you so much for that amazing introduction. You almost made me cry. So for anybody that's looking to buy a home, obviously we know it's one of the biggest purchases that you'll make in your entire lifetime. And you want to make sure that like the house is in good condition. And what I do is a little bit different than what an appraiser does, because a lot of people get it confused. An appraiser will tell you how much the home is worth. I'll tell you the condition that's in, whether the HVAC is working, if there's foundational issues, if you need to get a new roof, or there's mold in the house. So I come out and I tell you the condition of the property.
She's going to get into nooks and crannies you didn't know exist. So just real quick, to make sure we understand who we're talking to, the company is Kismet Kennedy Home Inspections. And if you go to the website, kismetkennedy.com, they'll have all the info, and you can schedule right there online. I did that, and she did a great job, and came out and met with my, in this case, the property was vacant, so she met with an agent on my team, and she did what she did for hours. And I remember the agent's like, oh my gosh, she's under here. Oh my gosh, she's into this. Because when you buy a property, I don't know what
she was amazing. Can I just say she was amazing? And she's also from the East Coast like me. She's from New York. I'm from Philadelphia. Hello.
No, nobody cares, Nechelle.
We don't care.
My parents are from Philly, so no, I'm big on Philadelphia. So no, and
that's actually fair.
But I think it's important that, I know that oftentimes realtors are trained, make sure you give 3 inspectors, 3 vendors when you recommend somebody. You don't want to be responsible. And I was just talking to an attorney on the phone before. I said, to me, that's just BS. My customers are paying me for my experience, my knowledge, my business. It's not legal advice. I'm not an inspector, but I do know this. I know somebody to give them a detailed report. She's honest, she's hardworking, and she's not going to cut corners on it. That's my job, is to share that with my customers. And so I think as realtors, that's our job. As investors, you got to know what you're getting. And if you're a contractor,
can I just give a small synopsis on that? Not to cut you off, Bill. Yeah. Just a small synopsis.
Yes.
So coming from the East Coast, and we are a Commonwealth or state, so you have to be licensed to do any and everything when it comes to real estate. So I was an agent back out on the East Coast, and I never gave my clients like 3 home inspectors and was like, oh, pick one and that's your luck. We actually chose everybody. When it came to the home inspector, the mortgage broker, now the appraiser, obviously, we know in the industry, we can't choose them. But when I came out here, they're like, oh, well, I give my client a list and I put 3 of them on it and I let them choose. That's not really doing your job. You're supposed to send them to somebody that you know, you trust, you like, and does a good job. So
I agree.
So yeah, I can say those are like some of the biggest differences from the East Coast for the West Coast, is that on the East Coast, when I was an agent, I referred the home inspector that we were going to use because I trusted them and I knew they did a good job. I wasn't going to give my client just a blind list and be like, oh, pick whoever you want to choose and I hope it works out.
Good luck with that. And here's 3 more people you should call, right? To me, it seems like, and I get there's arguments on both sides. I'm not saying one's right or wrong. I'm saying if I'm your customer, I'm going to tell you how it is. Here's somebody I've used. I used her last week. She did a great job. My customer's happy. I'm happy. And I think that's what people pay us for. I saw a hand up. I think, was that you, Jack? There you go. Jack Lapidus, hand up.
Yeah, if I could give the other side of the perspective of that, of the choosing.
They turn you through the penalty flag on that conversation.
Yeah, sorry. For those of you who don't know, I'm a real estate attorney. I've represented real estate agents and brokers for well over 15, 20 years. I represented home inspectors and did a lot of this kind of stuff. The reason why you probably want to give your client at least 2, if not 3 possible home inspectors from the perspective of someone who's represented real estate agents is if you give them one and that one screws up and ends up in a lawsuit, one of the claims against you will be, you gave me a crappy home inspector that you forced me to use for my home inspection. If you give them 2 or 3 and say, please give them a call and see which one you're comfortable with or whatever like that, it puts that layer between the real estate agent and the home inspector, or what do they call it, plausible deniability or whatever. I'm not saying it's right. What I'm telling you is, from a litigation standpoint,
sure,
it's the best way to do it. And people may disagree. I don't think any lawyers will disagree with me.
No,
I know real estate agents and home inspectors will disagree with me, but I'm telling you from the front lines.
Well, I think the key to your
point.
But
if you put them on your list, they shouldn't be crappy to begin with.
Yeah, I would say
so we then have to start going into what was the dissatisfaction for the home inspection.
Yeah.
So for me personally, who is my mentor, he did all of my home inspections. I never had a litigation. I never had any complaints. And I actually had one home inspector that, didn't perform to the way that I would have wanted them to during a particular home inspection. But that comes into your communication and being open and honest. So I agree with what you're saying, but at the same time, I a little bit disagree, because if they're a crappy home inspection,
a little bit of a hiccup with your audio, I think.
Yeah. Even crappy, even really good home inspectors have a bad day. And so, yes, you should have good home inspectors. I mean, I've represented some very good real estate agents, some very good home inspectors. It doesn't protect you from being sued by someone who wants to sue you. And I'm just talking from your defense attorney's standpoint. I would love it if you gave a list of 3 home inspectors instead of 1, and they all could be 3 that you love, and then you should be fine. And it won't, 99% of the time, it's not going to be a problem. I'm just talking about that one time where you give one home inspector and the guy has a bad night and shows up drunk and does all these terrible things, and you will get blamed for it as well. It's just another way to protect yourself. And everyone hates lawyers, and I'm not saying it because I like
we
it.
love you guys. Lawyers. We love lawyers.
I'm not saying it because I like it. I'm saying it because it's true.
Well, I would say a couple of things. First thing I would say is, if Nechelle ever shows up at a house drunk, I'm going to kick her butt before we get sued. For one, you better not. Okay. Number 2, I would say, really where the 3 referral comes from, in my experience in real estate, is the big offices. I don't want to badmouth my competition, Keller Williams, where they have a 500 person office and 400 of them couldn't real estate out of a paper bag. And there they run through different vendors because the vendors are paying to play in their office with them. They don't vet the quality. They're vetting. If you write a check, you get to come to the sales meeting. If you don't write a check, you don't, in many cases, not all. And then you better give 3 referrals, because you're not picking the best because they're best. when I met, I'll just say this, I've been in this business 36 years. I've literally been an expert witness in court on real estate. I've been around long enough to earn that. When I met Nechelle and talked to her about her business, and she gave she started like for 5 minutes, my eyes went back in my head. She knew so much about her job. Like, I got it. You're a pro. Like, that's who you refer. If they're that good. If they're not that good, yes, give them a list. But when you meet somebody that good, I have her on her show. I've met 20 home inspectors in the last 2-3 years. I invite any of them on the show. I had her because she's all that and a bag of chips and some pickles on the side. That's why. And I agree with you 100%, Jack. You're right. And I am taking my risk, right? But it's a risk reward. I also want to reward my client because I don't want them to get average service. So I hear what you're saying 100%. And be careful when you refer people out. You're 100% right. But you can't run your business based on avoiding lawsuits. You have to run your business on serving your client in a way that minimizes your risks. And so anyhow, we'll politely disagree a little bit on that. And then I guess when she hands out a card, just on the flip side, have Jack's contacts. So if they're not happy, they could just sue right away. And we'll keep the business here in our group or something, okay? Just kidding. No, we don't get sued. Okay, so Nechelle, let's talk about more. Give me an idea of what does a home inspection typically cost?
So I'm not gonna say the lowest point because you get what you pay for, but mine's usually start off around $425. And it's dependent on the square footage, not necessarily how many bedrooms or bathrooms you have. It's dependent on the square footage. And then if you have a pool or any additionals that you need to be inspected, it will increase the cost.
Right. Okay. But 4 times a very basic, it's definitely a very reasonable starting point for that. And so what's a typical amount of time you spend at a house doing your inspection?
Depending on the square footage. So anything up to like about 2 hours. When you start climbing above that, we can get a little bit longer.
And older houses longer, maybe where there's more stuff you have to get under the
foundation. Absolutely, because typically the electrical is outdated, the roof is outdated, and it just takes more attention to the details. Yeah. So yeah, the age of the house definitely can determine how long it takes for the home inspection to conclude.
And so at the end of the inspection, what does a customer get from you? What's the end product look like? Besides a big smile.
So for me personally, I include a roof drone footage in all my inspections where it's permitted, because there are certain places that are closer to the airports that you can't fly a drone. So it's just out of my hands. But I include drone footage, and if there is a crawl space, I have a neat little camera that's a GoPro, and I will give the footage to that also.
So I got that. It's like a home movie of the house underneath and all. I even know what the hell I'm looking at, but it was very interesting.
Listen, videos can tell a story way better than just still pictures when it comes to a home inspection. Like if I tell you there's a leak in a certain area, yeah, and I just take a picture of it, but it's not really gathering where the leak is at, where it's coming from, and so forth, there's a big difference. So with my home inspections personally, I actually can include videos in all of my home inspections, whether it be of a leak or, I don't know, there's a spark coming from the outlet or just anything. I include videos and, like I said, a roof drone footage, because then you get an overall visual of what condition the roof is in, and then the crawl space. Compared to just taking like pictures of it, I give you the full video footage of it. So it kind of works out a little bit better and gives them more insight on the home, because that's what we're here to do. Home inspectors, we're giving you insight on the condition of the home.
Yeah, I wish I had talked to my customer, got permission to show the report that you did for us, but it was very, very comprehensive, and it was online. It was quick. Really, you put it up. Well, let me ask you, what should I expect? I did one with you recently, but what's the normal turnaround time from when you finish inspection before the report's delivered to the customer?
24 to 48 hours.
It was.
Period.
It was 24
and
hours. It was like, boom.
I used to be a realtor, so I understand that we have contingencies as far as like
Right.
when we have to get the report back to the other client or to the
Right.
other to the seller's agent and so forth. So for me, I don't negotiate on that. It's within 24 to 48 hours.
And I have to tell you guys, if you're paying attention, to me, that's an important selling point is she knows my job as a realtor. She knows what I need to do to deliver for my client, and it's helping me do that. There are inspectors who just want to be inspectors. They don't appreciate this is a sales process. And if that deal falls apart, we don't want the buyer to be turned off against me and go to another realtor to buy the next house. We want them to say, thank you for protecting me. And let's go find something that's in better condition, or that we can, sometimes the seller won't make a proper adjustment based on things that are discovered. So do you ever get dragged into?
Unless you say realtors, you're blamed for everything in the process.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's out of your control. And I used to be a realtor, and I also was an investor. I've done new construction as a project manager. So I understand the different hats that you have to wear. But as a realtor, you bring everybody together and you're responsible for everybody. So whether the mortgage person, the home inspector, the appraiser, if anybody messes up, it's going to fall back on your reputation. And me as a previous agent, I understand that as a home inspector now.
Yeah, being a real estate agent is like being a husband. Everything's your fault. Did I say that? The door's closed. My wife's not here. I got away with it. Okay, so
I'm actually taking the real estate exam on Saturday, so I will take your comments with me.
Who's that, Laura?
Yes.
Well, good luck with that.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Where are you taking it at? Oh, you're in, you told us.
LA.
San Monica, LA. Well, good luck with that, Laura. Good luck.
Thank you. I will remember your words, Nechelle. So
you're responsible for everybody involved in the situation or in the transaction. So you just have to, one thing I've always prided myself on is if they know me, they love me. If they know me, they trust me. Like, my reputation, my name is everything. And that's how it is with an agent. You bring in a bad home inspector, they're never going to remember the home inspector's name. They'll remember your name. They'll tarnish your name. So you just have to make sure that you're bringing quality people into the situation. So that's why it's like when it's kind of like you just give 3 people on a list, it's like, okay, so how much do you trust these people that you can't even just give me one person that you actually trust that's going to do me right in this transaction? Right. Baby, you'll be blamed for everything, but you'll also be awarded for everything too.
I will say, and again, just to make sure we finish that point, because I don't want to in any way be argumentative with Jack. I think I'm just talking about a different circumstance, that it's not that I don't agree with him. I do agree with him that if you don't know anybody or it's all the same, then give him 3 names. I'm only giving one when I know they're great, when I know that's part of the value for my customer. Yes, I'm putting my license at risk or my business at risk when I do that, 100%. But on the flip side, if I don't, I just refer them to 3 people and they pick some idiot inspector, I also risk my business and my reputation. So you can't just focus on that. You got to trade that off. And we always want to find superstars to work with. I have a superstar lender I work with. I have a superstar inspector that I feel comfortable referring to. If I don't have a superstar in another area, I'll say, look, I don't know, but here's a couple names. I had a question literally yesterday from a big investor here in LA. He asked about a lender who I interviewed on my show. And I said, quite frankly, I've not done a deal with him. We talked about it. I interviewed him and I was honest about that. But I can't speak as to whether he's good or not because I don't really know because I haven't done business with him. So we have to tell the truth. We can't overstate what we know.
Point. Be honest.
Number one, be honest.
Be honest. Your clients will respect you if you're honest and you say, I've never done anything with them, but they've come highly recommended. Proceed at your own risk. Be honest.
And that's why I do these interviews, because I can say, look, I interviewed her. Take a look for yourself and see what you think. And they watch that, they see Nechelle, and they fall in love with her right away as well. So that's the whole point of this. Here on the live stream, we got House Hunter 216 says, let's go women home inspectors. What's up with the women today, man? A lot of women power. And then my good friend Jill.
Because there's not many of us in the industry.
What's up with that?
Whether you're white, black, Asian, whatever, there's not many women home inspectors in the industry.
So do I get extra points for using you? You're
They
part
don't
of my
get extra
team.
points, but baby, I'm making a lane for us where there wasn't one previously.
I made a lane for you. Hey, when I found who you were, I stepped aside, I carved the lane, put the asphalt down, turned the light on, said, go. Yeah, I'm not stupid. Okay. I'm not working any harder than I have to. I feel to see a great inspector and you were hungry. And that's another rule I have in business. Hungry dogs hunt best. And when somebody's out hunting for business, that's who you want taking care of your deals. You don't want somebody who's lazy and doesn't need your business. Jill's on a call, good friend of ours. Hey, Jill, how you doing? What areas do you cover in Southern California? Nechelle, what areas do you do inspections in?
Oh, I thought you said somebody else's name. So I will do up to a 2-hour radius outside of LA County.
Wow.
So I've gone to Palmdale, Riverside. I have definitely traveled. So it just has to be within a 2-hour radius outside of LA County. And
Wow.
I'm not from here, so I can't be like, oh, this. I just know I'll travel 2 hours from my house to come do a home inspection. That's about it.
So what she's saying is she doesn't know the area. So if you really are in, say, Bakersfield, call her up and she'll drive out there. She won't know the difference. And also,
But I'm gonna Google it. I'll put the address
Uh-oh.
in. If it says
Oops.
it's like 4 hours, baby, I'm not coming. If it says it's 2 hours and 15 minutes, I'm your gal.
Beautiful. And then she also asked, what do you expect? What do you receive when you get an order? Like, what information do you need to do your job? Do you get a contract? Do you get layouts? Do you get permits? What do you need?
And that's a different thing out here. So back home, we have mandatory, and when I say back home, I mean Philadelphia or Pennsylvania. Back home, we have a mandatory seller's disclosure, and it's about 30 pages. And the sellers have to get very detailed. Out here, honestly, just the address, the square footage of the property, if it has a pool or anything. And then I'll look and see when it was actually built, the year it was built, because that'll kind of give me a little bit of insight on what type of plumbing and electrical I can be looking forward to. But honestly, I usually just get the address. Back home, sometimes I would send the seller's disclosure to my home inspector, but out here, that's not really a thing. So I literally go in blind and I have to evaluate the property from scratch.
Jill asked another great question, which is, do you prefer the client to be there or not? Now, the client can be the seller, the client can be the buyer, and the other client can be one agent or both agents. So who do you prefer to have there? Or nobody?
That's an amazing question. Seller, honestly, I'm gonna be real with y'all. I don't prefer the seller to be there because they're going to try to kind of influence the situation. I said what I said and I meant what I said. I don't prefer the seller to be there. The client, the buyer's agent, because typically the buyer has to pay for the home inspection. So they essentially are my client. I do prefer for them to be there because if I need to point anything out, I'm able to do so on in real time. However, I will say if you have any questions or concerns that you have, give it to your home inspector in the beginning. Once they start doing the inspection of the property, let them do their thing, because while you're talking to them and they're trying to figure out why this is that and whatever the case may be, attention that you desire, but then they're also trying to give you a good report. So I do recommend that the sellers, not so much be there. Buyers, absolutely, you want to be there, but give your questions or concerns at the beginning of it. Let your home inspector go and do what they're going to do. And then at the end of the process, they'll discuss their discoveries with you. And if you have any further questions, you can go through it at that point.
And know the end of the process is about 2 hours. And so if you're getting antsy at 45 minutes or an hour, they're halfway through their job. Just know that's
the
what's
more
gonna
you
happen.
talk, the longer it takes. Yes, the more you talk, the longer it takes.
Yeah.
If we sit there for 15 minutes talking at 3 different intervals, you have now extended this home inspection from 2 hours to 3 hours.
Yeah. As a listing agent, I have to give the buyer the opportunity to be there, but I really don't want them there. because I've sat there and watched the home inspector turn to the buyer and just talk him out of the house for half an hour. And it's like, really, on that, yes, you're right, all that's a problem. But at that price, that's why they're buying it. And I feel like there's a certain dramatic presentation going on with the process. Tell me about sharing your report, meaning I'm a buyer, I get this report, it's beautiful, it's online, I also can PDF it, however many pages it is. Certain things are important, I can copy and paste, or I can see certain pages. Am I able to share that, number one, with the other agent as the course of negotiation? Number two, if I share the whole report with the listing agent and the buyer doesn't buy the property, can they share the report in the MLS for future buyers?
So I will share my report with the client, which is typically the buyer, and it is in PDF format and online. Who they choose to share it with after that is up to them. And typically they're going to share it with their buyer's agent, because then whatever corrections that they want made, that buyer's agent then needs to go back into negotiations with the seller's agent. So my software has a neat feature for the agents involved, for them to literally just like click on something, put if they want either a financial credit, so like a $2,000 discount, or if they want it to be repaired, and send it back over to the agent or to the seller's agent. And then the seller agent can say, we're not going to do that. We'll do that, not going to do that, and then send it back over to the buyer's agent. As far as the seller's agent sharing it with future clients, I've never really came into that situation. I feel like if an agent would do that, then they would encourage their client to do a pre-listing inspection.
Yeah.
Which means a home inspector comes out before you even list the property, and we'll go through and tell you the different things that probably will come up in a home inspection. So you can choose what things you want to rectify, so it'll kind of help your process go a little bit better.
It's an interesting
I don't know. I
question.
kind of feel two sides about that. I feel like they're kind of savvy with it. And then I also kind of feel like that's a little not so good, a little snakish, a little.
Well, there's a couple of things about that is, as a real estate agent, when I know something's defective, now I'm obligated to share that with everybody, right? Let's imagine the deal falls apart with any next buyer. I'm obligated to disclose. If you on your report put one of their crawl spaces blocked off and shouldn't be, I'm obligated to disclose that. Well, how do I do that? Well, the easy way is just to give them, if you gave me the whole report, the easy way to disclose everything I got is to give them the whole report. Problem is, when a buyer wants to buy a property for $800,000, should they rely on your prior report? Makes no sense, because the conditions may have changed and they can't hold you responsible because they didn't pay you. They can't hold me responsible. I just gave it to you. I didn't say it was right. I just said, I received this report. It could be good, it could be bad. And so I think as a buyer, I might call you and say, hey, you did a report. Would you update your report? You might charge for that, or do another report. You'll charge for that, obviously. But at least
I'm going to charge for every report we do. I'm not going to hold y'all. Okay. I'm charging for every time we come out.
Okay. So it's one of those things where you get what you pay for. And like I said, as an agent, I think I'm obligated to share the report with any prospective buyer. But for a buyer's agent to rely on it, I just think you're really taking some chances that don't make sense, right? Because maybe there's something else that was discovered. So pounding flag from the attorney again. Jack, I'm going to get you a yellow flag. And so during the course of our talks on Tuesday, you can just throw the flag in the air. There you go.
Red card.
Okay, I got red carded. Well, I'm not really a big soccer fan. Go ahead. What's
no, what I was going to say is I think I'm going to agree with you, Bill. As the listing agent, if you got an inspection report that called out some problems, and then it falls out of escrow and you have a second buyer come in, I believe that you have a duty to disclose the problems that are in the inspection report that haven't been resolved.
Right.
So you may, as the listing agent, say, oh, they pointed out this problem, let's fix it so it doesn't show up in the next report. I don't know if you necessarily have to disclose the prior report, though it's probably a good idea. And as the buyer's agent, you absolutely cannot rely on an inspection report from a prior transaction.
Right.
And you absolutely must insist that your buyer get their own home inspection report. And if it was me, I would not hire the same home inspector, because it's a good idea to get two different sets of eyes on it. So, there's that as well. And, you do those things. And as the listing agent and as the buyer's agent, you're fairly well protected from liability involved in the home inspection procedure.
Yeah, I think.
But here's the thing. So your agent, so outside of your mortgage broker, your home inspector, your agent is going to be the nucleus of your deal. And I know this because I used to be an agent. So it's like, if I receive a home inspection report that was previously done, and it's like a lot of things came up, I need to be able to know how to have a conversation with my client, and I know what my client wants or what they need, what they can afford, what they can't afford to get repaired, not repaired. And this is on both sides, whether I'm the buyer's agent or the seller's agent. It really comes down to the realtor knowing how to do their job and protect their client. So because there's been plenty of properties where I was the seller's agent and I had my clients do a pre-inspection report, and I didn't mind disclosing what was wrong with the property to the new buyer's agent or the new buyers, because at the end of the day, you're going to buy the house or you're not. These things are going to come up or they're not. You can't really get around that. But it's about knowing how to have a conversation and knowing what your client's needs, what their capabilities are financially, if they can afford to get a whole new roof replaced, and so forth. So I don't know. Me personally, I put a lot of responsibility back into the agent's laps of them being able to know how to have conversations with their clients, knowing what their clients' wants, needs, and capabilities are, and then filtering everything out from that point.
Yeah, I think to your point, Jack, if I get the report from the buyer's agent, the listing agent, yes, if things be fixed, I can put it out. But I think I really want to give them the report because it has everything in there. And if I report what I know, I run the risk of missing something or stating something incorrectly versus, well, here's what I got. And then subsequently, here's the receipts or here's what we did after that. Carolyn brings up a point. They have a duty for the contract to share it with the next buyer. That's true. But, on the report, it almost always says it's the property of whatever, and you're not allowed to share it. So on one hand, the home inspector is usually saying in writing, I'm not allowed to share it. I'm not allowed to get it. But that's between them and their client, the buyer. Once the buyer's agent gives it to me, I'm not really obligated to the inspector. I'm a good person. I want to be ethical, but I am legally obligated to share everything I know with the next buyer. So I'm in a position where I either have to not share with the buyer, that's a problem, or share the report, which is the problem with the home inspector. So there's no easy, I don't think, always right answer on that one, but I do think I would always err on over disclosing. And I think that to the home inspector, I would always say, you can't rely on it. Now, as a listing agent, when the buyer's agent says, oh, we have a home inspection, it was done 2 months ago, we're not going to do our own inspection. I'm like, yeah, great. Because they're not going to do an inspection. What could be better than that for me at that point? Because now we're kind of home free and we disclosed everything you could ever imagine on the property. So it's a difficult situation. Okay, a couple more from our live stream, but we got really active on the YouTube today. Shout out to everybody on YouTube. Marvell says team knowledge from California. Okay, very good. Thumbs up for team knowledge. And then Jill says or Fontana. I'm not sure what that refers to. Or Fontana. Okay, so team California's in the house and team Fontana's in the house. Okay, so what do you see, Nechelle, as the inspector? What's the biggest mistake you see buyers make when they're buying a property, particularly the first time, that you help them with? What do you see that their challenges and that you want to help them avoid or help them get through?
Making small issues into bigger ones. And I'm sorry, I'm going to always put a lot of the responsibility and accountability back into their agent's hands,
Right.
because I feel like that's what we get paid the big bucks for.
Mhm.
I see a lot of buyers, clients where they're uninformed. So even having conversations about the home inspection and what's coming up, first of all, any house that you buy, I don't care if it's new construction, if Jesus himself brought it down and placed it on some dirt, there's going to be defects. There are going to be defects. And being able to have intelligent conversations with your clients about, like, no home is perfect. That's probably like one of the biggest mistakes, I guess I can say, that I see about clients out here, because they will lose out on a good home just because there are deficiencies with it. And it's like, well, all homes are going to have defects with it. It's just about what you can handle and what you can't handle. It's one thing if the whole roof needs to be replaced compared to the chimney needs to be repaired a little bit. So that's kind of like the biggest thing that I see, is where new or first-time home buyers don't really understand the difference between big defects and small defects.
I'll never forget when I sold my last residence, the home inspection came through, and then the buyer on the list repairs wanted us, at the back, I don't know what you call them, the back of the doors had those little springy things. And then inevitably in an old house, they get bent or broken or fall off, whatever. So they counted like 16 were bent or missing. And I'm like, you realize I've been living in the house with those like that. Like, you can do whatever you want, but you bought the house, you walked around, you saw the condition, there were 16 missing or broken. You have to make your own assessment of what kind of house you want to buy. It's not a brand new house. A brand new house, you walk through the punch list and you expect everything to be brand new and perfect. But on a resale house, I think there's a difference between the inspector finds it, and then that means the seller has to fix it. Those are two different standards. It's negotiable. There's no really right or wrong answer.
Right.
A year ago, the right answer was you're going to get nothing and say, thank you for selling us the house, and close as fast as you can. Today, buyers have a chance to go back and look at things, and it depends on the transaction. And there's negotiation, and you can ask for whatever you want to ask for. It doesn't mean they owe it to you. But I do think that I always caution buyers, you saw the house when you bought it. You're only asking for credits for things that the home inspector helped you discover that you didn't realize were there, that you could not have seen or would not have seen. But if you walk in, you see a hole in the roof, you better assume there's a hole in the roof, and you're going to have to repair it and make an offer based on a price, something like that.
But the biggest thing, and what you just said, is that, so if I go look at a house and it is in complete shambles, but they're offering it for $1 million, but all of the comp properties around this house are going for $5 million.
There you go.
I cannot expect this $1 million property sitting in the middle of $5 million properties to be in the same condition.
Preach
And
it.
that's when I say it comes to the realtor with knowing how to have those conversations of, hey, listen, you wanted to get a cheap price. That was your main goal, but you needed to be in this neighborhood for your kids to go to the school or for whatever, it was supposed to work. But you're in a neighborhood where these houses go for $5 million up. Baby, you wanted to spend $1 million in this neighborhood, baby, it's going to be a hole in the roof. There's going to be some foundational issues. There are going to be some big ticket items that you need to get done. But that comes into knowing how to have those conversations, and it's based on each scenario.
Now, when you do your inspection, you're checking what I would call all the major systems, right? You're checking
Absolutely.
the air conditioning system, the electrical system. And so you're giving them really an assessment on what is it working or not? And also an assessment of maybe what to expect, meaning if it's older equipment and it doesn't been upgraded, you're going to have to expect to replace the air conditioning in 3 years or whatever, especially if you're in the Inland Empire where it's hotter than in West LA and you're running your air conditioner more, you got to plan on those kinds of things. That's the purpose of the inspection is not to say everything's working. Well, that's great, but it's all really old and well maintained. You need a budget that you're going to expect in a year or 2 or 3, some sort of major systems. What do you see? Give me an idea. I've seen inspections that were really good. I can't remember anything in yours in particular because the one you did for me was like an older house already, and I didn't know the house. I hadn't been there. But sometimes it seemed like where they see signs of, hey, this system's working fine for now, but this tells me you're going to be replacing this fairly soon. Give me an example where you might make that assessment to a prospective buyer to help protect them from making a mistake.
Typically the biggest thing is the HVAC system or the hot water system.
Yeah.
And so to kind of go back to another question, somebody asked me like, what do I want to know? I need to know the buyer's intentions with the property that they're buying. If they're buying it to hold it as a rental, I need to know that. If they're buying this to flip it, I need to know that. If they're buying this to move into it, I need to know that, because then it doesn't change what comes up in the report, but it changes the conversation I have with them about the things that come up in the report. Right. So if you're just looking to so for instance, the property that I did for you, I told her if she wanted to flip the property versus rent the property out, she was going to have to go in 2 completely different ways and look at the property in 2 different visions. Yeah. So those are like major things that I actually do ask my clients and the agents before I walk into it, because it tailors the conversation that I have with them. If the HVAC system is older, but yet you're doing it as a rental that you only plan on having for like the next 10 years, I might tell you, you know what, it's in working condition and there's not any signs that's going to go out anytime soon, so you can keep it in there. If you're doing it to flip it and you want to get the top dollar, I might tell you, hey, guess what? It's kind of ending its useful life. You might want to get this replaced. So it really depends on your client's intentions. Yeah. And I guess because I come from a real estate background, I still function in that same space of what is your intention for this property? Right.
What's your goal and how can I help you get it?
Right, because everybody has different needs, different wants, and different things are going to serve them. So like I said, if you're moving into the property and you have not a lot of free extra cash to like work on different things, guess what? You might not be able to buy the cheapest property in that area. You might have to buy something that's a little bit more expensive where you don't have to pay so much upkeep on it. Right. So it really differs. It's all about situations.
And you guys can see, I don't work a lot with buyers, mostly in that when I do have buyers, they're investors, very sophisticated. They're contractors on their own or have their own contractors. In fact, one of them was on the line with us, Ed, who has his own people he brings in. So, but when a customer asked, and I had a very sophisticated investor architect customer, you can see that Nechelle brings value to that relationship for me as a realtor, and then you as an investor to be able to collaborate with her. You're getting more than just the HVAC is working or not working. You're getting really some strategy on how to make your investment work. Okay, so I think I hit all the questions in the chat box. Last call for questions. If you're on the live stream, feel free to put it in the YouTube or Facebook. I'll pick it up there. If you're watching on the YouTube, you're welcome. I'm sorry, on the Zoom, you put it in the chat or raise your hand. Love to answer any last questions. For those, just a quick recap. Kismet Kennedy Home Inspections, kismetkennedy.com. This is our host. You got to get her to show up in that dress. That would be a home inspection. I would see you crawling under the foundation like you did on the West Side property, dressed like all that. Like that's not $425 for an inspection. That's a little bit more than that. But you can
believe it or not, I have like a really cute Air Force one-piece suit that I go into the crawl spaces in. Listen, it doesn't matter what I'm doing, how dingy, dirty it is. I'm still gonna look cute, honey. And also for the people that are on here, I actually did write a book about real estate investment.
yeah, your book.
So if you're looking for the different avenues and how you should choose if you're doing something that's going to be owner occupancy, rental, or a flip, and how to do so, how to find your contractors that are going to come out and do the work for you. If you want to refinance things, how to do a package deal with the banks, how to deal with the city officials, because believe it or not, the people that give you your permits, they play a very vital role in you doing your investment projects. I have a book out called The 16 Keys of Successful Real Estate Investment, and it is available on Amazon. And you can literally just Google my name, Nechelle Kennedy, and all my dirt comes up, honey, all of it.
Well, we don't want to sell your dirt. We just want to see your best-selling book. So definitely excited to have you there. I think for those of you who are investors and want to invest as a new investor, you can see that she's not only going to be an inspector, she's going to be a collaborator on your team to help you get the best outcome. It's not just buying the property, it's getting it through escrow, it's closing on the deal, it's negotiating the right deal along the way, it's having the right evidence. You know, when you give me a report like that one, you give me a report like that, I go to work, I'm a good negotiator, but I need the cards to negotiate with. And a great inspection report is a great set of cards for me to take to the listing agent and say, wow, did you know this? You didn't disclose it. Did you know that? Oh, you didn't disclose that either. And after a while, they're like, oh, okay, just how much is it already? Perfect question. I'd love to tell you. Let's go through requests for repairs. So if you like her, want to see more Nechelle on Amazon, I just real quick Googled Nechelle Kennedy, and there you go, 16 Keys to Successful Real Estate Investment, paperback or Kindle, and the great graphic. Nechelle, thank you so much for being on our call today. You really touch a lot and taught us a lot. Again, I think for inspections one thing, but I really feel like you're part of the team. Love to have you as part of my team, and want to put my stamp of approval. Again, I appreciate that for many real estate agents, they have to refer 3 people, but when you know somebody who's that good, that's why we put them forward. So Nechelle, thank you for your time today. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Bill.
And for the rest of you, we have upcoming a week from Thursday, we have the LA County Real Estate Investors Association Expo. We get together every second Thursday of the month. It's in the Culver City area on Motor Avenue, just south of 10 Freeway. Got about 250 people there. Starts at 6:30. It's free. Of about 50 vendors. And this month, the speaker will be Chris Rameza on pre-development real estate and land banking, which is a great way to get started if you're looking to get started as an investor. So love to see you there. I'm a vendor. Come up and say hi on the official podcast of that event. I'll be live casting from there as well. If I can help you, reach out to me. I'm Bill Gross. I'm Bill Gross EXP on social media. Call me, text me, or email me if I can help you. Thank you, everybody, for making a great day today. Thanks for Jack. Thank you very much for participating. I appreciate your legal insights and appreciate the pictures with your son. Follow him on Facebook, and hopefully you say we'll continue to lose in basketball. Oh, did I just say that? That's really rude, Bill. And thank you for everybody else.
Have I ever said one bad thing about the damn Trojans?
No. And I'm so mean about that. I really am. I feel bad about the 49ers losing. Does that make up a little bit?
Thank you. I appreciate that.
The Eagles won.
Fly, Eagles, fly, right?
Go Birds.
Yeah, go Birds. And
I'm not rooting for the Eagles, but I am rooting against the Chiefs. So
yeah.
Oh, baby, come on over to the bright side.
And my contact info is in the chat if anyone needs to reach out.
And I actually would like your contact info. And Ed, I didn't hear much of you today, but I want to get everybody's contact info that's involved in the chat. So
my QR code will take you to my website if you want to snap that.
Okay,
everybody's contact. So if you
I'll do it right now. Let's see if it works on the screen.
And if you need anybody's contact info, reach out to me. I'm glad to put you guys together. But
awesome.
I've referred cases to Jack, and he's really taking care of some of my best. I was with my good client today, with Tim today, by the way. We're talking about you helping out on a property last year. So Jack is really, really good at that. And Ed Garcia, another attorney as well, does construction and flipping. So thank you, everybody. Have a great week. Appreciate your support.
Wait, before everybody goes, hold on a second. I just started this whole real estate thing has all just come together. I actually have my W-2 job is actually in the real estate field. And I've also, as I mentioned, I'm sitting for the exam on Saturday. I work for a company that does tenant screening.
Mhm.
There's been a lot of uptick in fraud with, people getting someone's social security number, making an ID, and there's just been a lot of things like that. So if you're ever interested, it's free for the brokerages, free for the property managers. If you're screening for a rental, don't forget me. I would be happy to help you with that.
What's the
Thank
company
you.
name? What's your contact info?
I put it in the chat. It's Laurel, Laurel,
Mhm.
at rentapplication.net.
I see that. Very good. Thank you. You know what?
Thank
My
you.
daughter just recently moved to a new apartment. They had some sort of a system where they went in and applied, and then they saw when the seller reviewed it, when the seller approved it, and whatever. So I know that stuff's all moving online, and they had one system for a couple different places. So we need some standardization there. So good, Laurel. Thank you for sharing that. Good
Thanks.
luck
I
with your test.
appreciate it.
Good luck in your test. Hopefully we'll see you next week.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great week.
Bye. Thanks.